as the 5D ascension energies are about, and our lovely eclipse comes along. I don't remember the date exactly. I think the 17th, and I believe it's a partial eclipse and a full moon. And there's a lot of different tarot oracle card readers and channelers that have been sharing it, so I'm sure you're aware. So, 5D Ascension energies, also thanks to a lot of space weather. I follow a lovely man who integrates sciences and spirituality, like all of our lovely 5D collective does. So, with that being said, the 5D frequency is for those who are inner child adults. So, you have a whole self because you're able to take the lead as your future presents itself when you can forgive the past mistakes that you have made or that have taken place. And that's why they're not mistakes, because you've taken them and you've expanded from them as yourself. So when you have a sense of self and you are an inner child adult, that means you have ego self, you have left and right, they work together, the body, the mind. Okay, so this is what mindfulness, mindsight, and mindset living is like and loving, and you put into practice these because you use the inner growth approach that we discuss automatically. Again, you have a whole heart and a whole gut and a whole mind. So the daily practices support you to move into more of your inner and outer well-being. You're empowered and enlightened. And so enlightening yourself, this is something that you're rolling with. You deal with the unknowns, uncertainties, unexpected with an open heart, and you're going with the flow. If there's any disruption to the flow state, that's where we have the good therapists doing their best to expand window tolerance. So once you own the body and you own the mind, that's when you're taking the lead of your future and your inner self is whole and you're able to be processing that attention and awareness and intention with the choice of an open heart and an open mind. And we're going to get into some of the messages. So, you take the lead of your future when you can forgive past mistakes and expand them. You expand from them as yourself. You live a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. Being yourself means that you embody your 1 year old, your 3 year old, okay, all your child parts, they're whole. And so I'm attachment trauma informed. That's why I know these words, and I can also support those who are navigating anything that's coming up within the window of welcome. So you don't have clinical dissociation. And if that is something that does take place, then there's a therapist that works with you. You don't have pseudo aliveness in the absence of your awareness. And when it happens, you have a therapist that you're working with. Okay, so very important. You don't have alters that take over. You don't have an emotion that takes over. So when we see people who are out there in the absence of this information, we have not the right, those of us who are life coaches or holistic practitioners, Reiki master, doesn't matter what you are, spiritual and or spirituality, mystic knows my role is not a therapist. I am supporting somebody to expand. Spiritually awakened people are the people who own their self and their ego. Otherwise, you're not really spiritually awakened. You're going to be a spiritual bypasser. Like the mantles of mental health, the ones who walk around with their trust breaks and their trauma projecting their narrative, they use a lot of fancy words. Okay, so that's not mindful or spiritual living. Those are groups of people, are 3D, 4D vibration frequency individuals. They navigate beneath neutrality and they begin with shame, and because they're not masters of their emotional plane, they will be offline in the yellow or red. It's called biological rudeness. Thank you, Stephen Porges. Okay, so they don't have their destiny. They don't even have dharma. They have karma. They're unconscious of conscious. Their first 8 years of life are repeating on a wheel. It's unfortunate business. The adaptive child part is rigid, unforgiving. They don't come into an engaging conversation to talk. They want to control. They want unbridled self-expression. They will make sure to try and manipulate words in a way, and this is all, again, unconscious. It's not their awareness. They're not in their prefrontal. They're in their brainstem. We got attach, cry for help, collapse, submit, please appease, and that's only 3 of them. Then we have the ones who fight, flight, freeze, flop, drop. So those safety behaviors are all already on the go because the first 3 years of your life do matter. And the first actually is the biggest and most important. You are not stuck in a non-secure attachment category, by the way. You can work your way to get earned secure attachment. So if you want to take charge of your destiny, the first step is to take charge of your own body and mind. Thank you, Sadhguru. Once you have the body and you're able to, again, contain all that comes up, like Peter Levine shares, now you're ready to be online because you have a window of tolerance that is expanded. You're also aware of yourself. So you are correcting by your volition the adaptive child parts because you want to become a functional adult. So inner child adults, those are the people who are vibing whole selves with the 5D frequency. So they are in the lead and they're looking to the future with the past in their hands. So there's emotional stuff in your hands and there's mental stuff, and that's the part. You expand yourself. So the solo self, narrative, relational, and core, there's no hidden shame. There's no hidden blame. There's no hidden revenge. There's no hidden fault. You're not walking around with the pitchforks. Again, spiritual bypassers, mantles of mental health. They're on empowerment and justice. They're still on this journey, and with their charges, they gather all together because, see, the fourth step to healing trauma charges are that people want bystanders to take their side. Those are all the 16-year-olds because that's why there's this unbridled self-expression. The 16-year-old you is your last charge state. Thanks, Sue Morton, my teacher. She taught that to me, and I noticed how all these human beings out there who don't know what it is to be in the 5D frequency, they follow Peter Pans, they're Peter Pans, they follow Lost Boys, they're all a group. It's, show yourself, I'm dying to meet you, and they act with their shadow and light side, superhero cape, supervillain cape, they're battling stuff, okay? So they're completely in modulated embodiments, and they're not self-aware, accountable, regulating, saying, wait, my sympathetic is bad for me. They think that they need to stay in their sympathetic because they think they're in a battlefield. That's the fight response. So that's not what we are here. Here we are, again, the lead, your future. It's because you know how to be just as majestic and equanimous and in the land of truth, which is neutrality and above. That's why you expand intelligence and you do own your destiny. So your divine feminine and your divine masculine, they're a pair. Your ego and self are a pair. Left and right mode work together. And I organize words in Maria's way, FYI. So don't write it down. But if you do want to follow what I talk, even though I change it up every now and then. So just so you know, I bring surprise. So if you want, you ask me questions. I'll happily answer them. If you are confused anywhere, say, hey, Maria, could you expand how you meant this word and that word? Because I got a little bit lost, and I'll do something like that. Okay, so again, you take the lead of your future when you can forgive past mistakes and expand them as yourself. Yourself is a whole inner child adult. It's why you have fun in your relationships. And your past doesn't make you get off track. You know where you're headed. This is the beauty of having a sense of self. You're not like the little wind who says, yeah, I will do anything once I know what I want. And then they don't do anything. You meet people. I've met plenty of people. They don't use their mouth in ways that walk a walk and talk a talk. So we all do make mistakes. Remember, none of us are perfect. I know I'm not perfect, and that people, some don't like me at all, and I'm okay. Humble has a very nice energetic imprint when you're maintaining integrity and when you're balancing your ego self, which is why the harmonization of yourself is that you forgive your own self for mistakes that you will have made. You do not have a sense of shame, guilt, blame, fault, revenge. There's none of those emotional imprints. You don't do envy, jealousy, spite. Those are low self-esteem, emotional aspects that people who need the therapist go to so that they can heal them and get out of them. And then they can continue to become a solo self that lives a life of meaning and connection beyond their self. So I can be equanimous like a Pacha, like Pacha does with Cusco. He makes, I promised you that I would take you to the home. I will, even if you almost tried to off me. Now, this is the part of where it's a cartoon. Remember, in real life, none of us would do anything like that. We would say, I'm calling the cops right now because you just basically became a physical threat. It'd have to be a physical threat. If it's emotional and mental quarrels, no, we can talk it out. We can work it out. That's what a person who's an embodiment of their whole self, that's why we don't say, I forgave. Like my teenage boyfriend stories, I didn't forgive in that way. Of course, as a teenager, it's my first experiencing. I'm moving along the journey, but when we broke up, when it was done, I thought that we would stay friends. the three of us. Eventually, I was able to lead ourselves to friendship again, which it makes me happy. I'll never forget my gift. She gave me a gift on a very special day. And it was a special day because at the same time, there was another gift that I got. That gift was a very interesting one. So we'll remember the gifts. There's positives, negatives. We don't call them negatives because we do see I can forgive because I made the mistake of thinking that there was love here and that there was a depth and a connection. That means that I was meaningful to you and that you were meaningful to me. You are meaningful to me. That doesn't change. But I am not meaningful to you here in your heart. So when people treat us in specific ways, if they don't see you and they don't have the capacity to care about your emotional plane, they won't soothe you. Means that they don't look for a secure connection. They don't want to be a permanent, meaningful person in your life. You see, it's not personal. It's called my amygdala has no interest in developing a heart-to-heart connection with you. So I don't see you. I don't soothe you. I don't keep you safe or secure, meaning I don't reassure you. Be yourself, and I like you as you are, and I want you as my friend because you enrich my life. So when that comes to the conclusion where you realize you're not enriching somebody's life the way they enrich yours, it's not going to be personal. It's going to be something very straightforward for a human being who has a whole inner child adult self. It's we can agree to disagree, and sometimes people that will agree to disagree will also make sure that you can understand that there's no interest whatsoever, and that is not a wall. It is an active choice from the amygdala. So you always will be behaving in the manners that you will, if you're not consciously aware. That's a story for people who once they get consciously aware. Okay, so when you are the one who's mindfully aware, that's the people. So I'm mindfully aware myself. That means I have a whole 3-year-old heart. So you enrich me. You don't take out that I'm enriched by you because I love you and accept and respect you just the way you are. So your behavior doesn't make me love you less. I am able to recalibrate, know that I'm not meaningful to you in the same way. So I'm not meaningful from the heart. And that is something I get to accept. And I accept it. Why? Because of the wisdom. So spirituality and or meaningful in a way of mindfully, excuse me, I meant spirituality or mindfulness because some of you are not spiritual. I'm a mystic. So for me, it is also through my capacity to be connected to this lovely consciousness sphere, source, universe, Akash. But the ones who are mindfully aware, they can be here too. The difference is that my forgiveness comes with a connection to source because I feel it in my bones. And again, I'm a feminine. The people who have an ego and they're not connected to self from the plane of infinite possibilities with the knowingness of God. I grew up with God. Okay. So they will have, okay, we have dark matter, dark energy. So that person who's completely secular, they won't look to their connection and their capacity to be unconditionally loving with another person with the idea of something beyond this life. They're saying, nope, I'm going to become stars and dust. That's it. They can still find in their human secondary consciousness the capacity to have this very specific balance. In fact, this is the third eye, the purple. And so, with that being said, if you want to take charge of your destiny, the first step is to take charge of your own body and mind. And that is what a person who leads their own future can do because they can forgive their own mistakes and they expand from them as their whole authentic self. The therapists help people to get to the whole self. Then they're ready to do mindfulness and spirituality because otherwise you're not spiritually awakened. You're a spiritual bypasser, which is where you find 3D, 4D. It's not a category. I'm organizing content for the IHP community and stories for people who care about their self. So they want to be healed. They want to go through, I'm going to reconnect my emotional body so I can be a person who lives a life of emotion. I'm going to have pain and grief. I'm going to do the empowerment and justice with my community, not online talking about how awesome it is to be an adaptive child or be maladaptive child. They don't use these words, maladaptive, fuck, drugs, and drinking, and they just go on this hiatus or they romanticize or demonize it. So whenever somebody's not authentically healing, you're going to know because they just use, here's my list of attributes. And that's a sad story. Leaving that aside, functional adults are inner child adults. We unconsciously love. We know what is what. For me, I come with Jesus and God. Some will come with sciences, and we come together. So again, yourself is a person that knows where you're headed, and you have the wisdom of the heart. And so you have the capacity to know that as a mammal, the restorative embodiment, self-aware person, accountable and regulating, is appreciative of our herd, because our herd is why we are here. And without needing to think about the next lifetime, because you have this one life. Live it now. You can live it well now, not tomorrow. Some people are like, next lifetime. Yeah, sure, whatever. Next lifetime, you won't remember your name. So there is not a next lifetime. You're going to have another name. You're not going to do any of what. So I'm going to share last messages, and I'm going to do another episode. Again, thank you for stopping by. Anybody who's new, we have some membership content that will come out at a certain point. Masterclass numbers, close numbers. If you're interested, write me. Details will follow. One-to-one mentorship also available. So as the eclipse nears and the ascension energies are about, the messages that came up for any of you who are 5D mystics in the enlightenment soul age group, or 5D individuals who are self-empowered, enlightened, with your inner child, functional adult in the present. Okay, so that's what you are. You're empowered and enlightened. So you're enlightened because you can do thoughts and emotions, and you live and love mindfully again or spiritually. The expansion of your consciousness happens thanks to your ego self being friends. Your inner child adult is present, so you're very comfortable with your differentiated self. That means thoughts and emotions as you explore them. Even if society doesn't like you, you're not caring about what people say. You're caring that you're not ashamed, and really you will have mental, emotional, and physical mastery, and therefore also the capacity to be a pacha with the Cusco, because at the end of the day, when you have a Cusco squirrel, they're not hearing you. So you just know how to recalibrate the conversation so that you can leave. So again, your ego self, masculine, feminine. So masculine will be ego, self is feminine, how I'm organizing it. And masculine tends to have to hit rock bottom before awakening to maybe, if they want, because they have a lot of fun with the fucking drinking, drugging, and the money. So Pinocchio with Stromboli, but never where he awakens to what Stromboli actually is. And that's why there are those who will try to get any difficult person who's treating them very poorly to stick around. That's called childhood trauma. So anybody who doesn't have the capacity to see themselves as a human being who deserves to be unconditionally loved is still not whole yet. As long as you think someone needs to be shamed, that's ego. And that's not yourself, because yourself is connected to pure consciousness. When you're pure consciousness, unconditional love, again, I have flaws, so do you. I'll make mistakes, so do you. I'm going to stay humble. I'm not going to feel guilty when I make a conscious choice. I'm going to know how to recalibrate and talk to you. The healthy boundaries is, okay, we talk. You know what? We have different secure attachment expectations and or desires, and or we have a different way that we lead our 24 hours. It sounds very technical. It's not meant to be. But if I, in my 24 hours, have no room for you, I will try to tell you when I do have room. I will coordinate it. If you feel that that's cold and sensitive, then we're not a match. It's okay. We don't have to be matched. This is what it's called, to love, accept, and respect each other, and then to know emotionally, though, that you love each other equally, so it doesn't take away. That's why, as I said, when you are not meaningful to another person, doesn't mean that they stop to be meaningful for you if you've opened up your heart, because that's what happens. That it doesn't separate. As a Rumi quote, when you love with your eyes, then you know separation. When you love with your heart and soul, there is none. So for a person that leads with their heart and soul, always, if I'm not meaningful to a person, I will respect that they have no space here for me. Maybe they have it here, maybe they don't. It's when they see me, then I'm good to go. It's like conveniences. I understand. I have one of my closest friends. We built a relationship. I already knew they're full of that. That's why I call them an asshole. And that's why when things got into a space, we'll talk about that in another story. But this friend of mine, he and I, we went through a lot of lovely experiences, and he taught me a lot about what people do when they don't awaken to all of their inner child parts. And thanks to him, I didn't repeat any of the mistakes that were not mistakes, because again, I learned from them, and I'm still Maria. Always. In fact, always and forever. I don't change. I'm here to be myself. And if somebody doesn't like me, I'm here to say, well, it was nice to hang out. Thank you for your time. I am appreciative, because you're part of the same piece of consciousness that I am, and it was a pleasure. You've expanded me just by being, even for 1 second, you've expanded me with more emotion, more thought, more everything. You didn't take away. And even if I feel that you took away, because of that broken heart stuff, you always will have these things where you're processing. You didn't, because I'm here. The feelings cannot be taken away. It's called an experience. So you've still given me the opportunity. I can keep doing this. That's what a mindful mind, and also, again, spiritual mystic here. So eclipses bring more to those who are expanding, like any ascension energy, because of that inner child adult, a differentiated self. As you just saw, I can think and feel the way I am feeling and thinking, and I assimilate information with an open mind and open heart. And that is where your ego self, masculine, feminine, mental, emotional, physical intelligence, and mastery, it's the most amazing to tap into your infinite higher human conscious potential experience and to enjoy it in here. And then with those who vibe like us. So those people are going to be who you're going to be building your relationships with. So mind, heart, body, you explore thoughts and emotions with equanimity, bliss, and delight. When life's unknowns hit, it's not a big deal. You're like, okay, bring it on. And the intelligence is open hearts and minds. So again, compassion and smarts, rock at passion and intellect, 5D mystic, feminine, masculine. These are the titles of potential episodes for today. So you have that lovely one life to live. You live it well now, not tomorrow. And that's a wrap. So that's a wrap for now. Thank you for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe. If you know people who do 5D, mystic, spiritual, and or slash mindful self-help living, and they want daily practices, or they want to hear about empowered stories, it's a number of different things that I bring to you. Let them know about IHP. We also have on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, we have the audio version, even though with Spotify, when I do video, you can see video, and I've been repurposing the YouTube content, and I might do that consistently depending on if I find some glitches. I've had some glitches with the platform, but that's a side note. Again, for one-to-one mentorship masterclass, reach out if you're interested. And there is in the works a spiritual retreat. I have decided the location will be my lovely Napoli, near Napoli. So just keep that in mind. There's another potential location, but that one might not ever happen. So we'll find out. Never say never, but it's a distance future. In the meantime, for the one that will happen, it will be in this lovely area, as long as our Phlegraean fields and the Mount Vesuvius stay good. And so, fingers crossed, we live La Dolce Vita every day. Every day could be my last. In fact, if I ever disappear, let me tell you how honored I am that you spent 22 minutes and so forth here, for all of those of you who stuck around. And thank you for being in the world. Because if you are here and you are therefore an unconsciously loving human being, then I know that you are already making a difference in the life of the people around you, as an inner child adult, and then in whatever business stuff you do, because you have the 2 hands and the 2 feet that know how to keep your mouth, your word, and you care beyond yourself. And so it's not because of a personal agenda, which is where the spiritual bypassers and mantles of mental health are, the 3D, 4D frequency. It's personal. Their 16-year-old has made it personal. But again, we have different voices for different reasons. The ones who are the grown-ups, the Pachas, Pacha is trying to save his town because he knows, where are we going to go live? You're sending us in the middle of the fucking street. For what? Because you're being a little prick. I have an issue with the ego, can you tell? But I have my own ego, which is why ego keeps me humble. It reminds me, you have one too. I say, yeah, I do have one. Know how to keep it in check with the heart. And that's because of living a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. So we keep ourselves in check, not by controlling. No, we have herd members. I have my masculines that are intelligence, and I look to them. I tell them, keep an eye out. I want you to tell me shit. If ever I get in a place where I don't want to be, you know me well enough to know what I want to be. So you're going to be a good judge of character, of voice. I'm not kidding with y'all. I am totally, I have people that I want their feedback so that I know I maintain what is, again, a balance. Because it is very important for those of us who do care what we're offering and what we're sharing. And some people, they care about other stuff. We care about making a difference. And I care about letting you know it's awesome to be yourself when you have a whole 3-year-old heart. If you don't yet get therapy, then come on over so that you don't have to keep trying to, bend down backwards and over for people who, well, you know, it is what it is. We'll be back in a little bit. So thanks again.